Well, it seems our best alphabetical buddies have been hyperactive recently, and we've seen lots of articles and videos on the subject. I figured it would be good to take a minute to kind of take a look at all of these news items related to the ATF and give y'all a quick rundown. There's three major stories that we're going to cover. First, the claims of an ATF gun owner database, then an update on the status of the receiver and pistol brace rules, and finally, the new regs that took effect this last week. Thank you guys so much for liking and subscribing, and for all of the comments. They've been really insightful. Without further ado, let's get stuck right in.
While the host of Fuddbusters is a lawyer, he is not your lawyer. If you pay him, maybe, either way you slice it, the video that you are about to watch is not to be construed as legal advice.
First and foremost here are the headlines surrounding a possible ATF Gun Owner Registry. This follows the ATF reporting to lawmakers that it managed a database of just under 1 billion firearm purchase records, the majority of which are believed to be in a searchable digital database. A report in the Washington Free Beacon seems to have spurred a coalition of Republican lawmakers to begin probing the ATF's accumulation of this data. The primary concern here is that the Biden administration may be using this information to create a sort of like de facto federal gun registry, which is against federal law. The lawmakers, spearheaded by MacLeod of Texas, are demanding that the ATF come clean about how it is using the database, which ATF claims is used to track crime guns. Of course, the ATF has also admitted that this database is generally not useful in prosecuting gun crimes, which, compounded with the fact that ATF is trying to get its hands on every 4473 in existence, seems suspicious. What they're talking about here is 4473s. The regulations that have been in place since 1985 have enabled gun dealers to destroy records more than 20 years old, as it's hard to maintain an infinite number of papers for an infinite amount of time. ATF is presently trying to get rid of that and force dealers to either maintain the records indefinitely or send them in. Either way, the end result would be that ATF would receive or have access to every 4473 pretty much ever. The tension here is that federal law prohibits the government from maintaining a gun registry. Basically, the lawmakers are asking ATF to justify its desire to get access to more ancient 4473s and teasing out how any purported benefits might weigh against the risks that this imposes. Of course, ATF won't be able to justify it, but let's kind of dig into the claims that are made here. First, would this effectively create a gun registry? Well, the answer is a little more complicated than you might think at first. When we think of a gun registry, we think of stuff like New York's registry of assault weapons and handguns, California's registry, and of course the NFA registry. On these, the presumption is that whoever the gun is registered to presently has possession of it, and if they don't, they're in trouble. With the ATF's database, it's a little bit different. The database is of Form 4473s, and this is most frequently used in firearm traces, this database. When ATF initiates a trace, they are able to follow the firearm from the original manufacturer down to the first retail purchaser. Of course, in most of this country, that doesn't mean much. A gun may have traded hands many, many times after that, perfectly legally, with no paper trail. If there's even a single transaction that happened after that, the only thing ATF can do is hope whoever had the gun last is willing to talk to them. Even then, it's a crapshoot. So no, the ATF's database isn't a registry, it's more akin to a garbage collection of crumpled up Taco Bell receipts, both in form and utility. Does that mean these lawmakers are a bunch of idiots? Well, no, it's still a bad idea and still presents problems for gun owners. For one, with all of these records being digitized, it kind of creates a way for ATF to go outside of the normal trace chain and find things that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to. The more things that are on this list, the more likely it is that ATF will harass people who bought and subsequently got rid of guns decades ago. Furthermore, the more complete this list is, the more useful it would be to ATF in the future should it eventually succeed in requiring universal background checks of some sort. So yes, ATF 2021 R05, which would severely expand this, is a bad idea. But it's not quite the same bad idea that people have been leading us to believe. It's a slightly less damaging but much more idiotic bad idea than that. All right, next up, the status of ATF's attempt to redefine firearm frame or receiver and to crack down on braced pistols. There was a lot of reporting regarding ATF publishing their schedule for these rules. This was part of a very broad document posted to the Federal Register covering a huge swath of administrative agencies and what all of them had on the docket, pretty much. So no, it wasn't anything like quite so specific about the proposed rules that we've been so anxiously waiting for ATF's response on. That said, it does intend to finalize those regulations with final action on the framer receiver rule planned on the 0th day of June and the brace rule the 0th day of August. ATF still has yet to make available its responses to the hundreds of thousands of comments we submitted, but it does claim that it has finished reviewing them. I've spoken to many people, including some former ATF bigwigs, and there is no consensus on whether ATF will actually implement changes based on our comments or attempt to just shove the written rule through the gates as it is. Of course, if they do the latter, ATF does open itself up to quite a few different legal challenges. Still, though, it remains to be seen what the agency's game plan is. It bears repeating also that ATF does not have the power to ban or directly regulate pistol braces themselves, as these are mere accessories without definition in the law. ATF cannot touch them directly. What ATF can do is take the presence of a brace into consideration when it is affixed to a firearm. So keep that in mind. Finally, mentioned in this update filing is ATF's desire to change the importability of large pistols, the type of which braces are often attached to. As you may be aware, some really important firearms in today's market are imported as pistols, from the venerable Draco to the SIG 550 series to the majority of imported roller-delayed guns. ATF's inevitable clarification of what constitutes an importable pistol threatens the availability of these imported firearms in a very direct way, so it's something we really need to keep a close eye on. Last up, the actual new rules that were just put in place regarding firearm safety devices and the definition of antique firearm, which was made effective on February 3rd. This dates all the way back to a 2016 proposed rulemaking to which many comments were lodged questioning the legality or utility of such rule, which the ATF resoundingly ignored. The rule stacks regulatory morass onto the existing requirement that federal firearms licensees certify to the ATF that they have secure gun storage or safety devices available for sale anywhere that they sell guns. ATF has added a definition to secure gun storage or safety device, defining it as one of three things. 1, some kind of device to nerf the firearm, like a gun lock that is compatible with the types of firearms sold at the premises. 2, some kind of lawyer lock incorporated into the gun itself, like those stupid punk key things that you see, or like some kind of idiot smartwatch. And 3, a safe, gun case, lockbox, or other cage-type contrivance that needs a key combination or something similar in order to open it. Furthermore, up to this point, the law, and again, not the regulations, the law specifically provided that if an FFL did not comply with the requirement that gun locks be available for sale, that such evidence shall not be admissible as evidence in any proceeding of any court, agency, board, or other entity. Mind you, this is in the law. The law itself makes clear that the requirement to have locks for sale where guns are sold is not meant to really be wielded against FFLs. Of course, ATF decided to make another minor change to, its rulemaking, which clarified that it, an agency, could initiate proceedings, which are proceedings, to remove the license of anyone found not to be in compliance. This is, of course, the exact opposite of what the law says, but our glorious administrative state has never let anything silly like the text of the law get in front of it before. So basically, FFLs need to make sure that they have available some form of safety device compatible with every type of firearm that they sell. Finally, the rule changed the agency's definition of antique firearm, basically in response to some of the black powder guns that made a big splash in the last couple of years. The new rule provides that an antique firearm cannot incorporate a firearm receiver or any firearm that was converted into a muzzleloader or any muzzleloader that can be readily converted to fire normal ammunition. Hooray. All right, so that's your big ATF update. I know all of that was probably music to your ears, but I think it's important that we keep an eye on this stuff and know the truth of what's going on. Thanks a bunch for watching. I've got some more stuff coming down the pipe, and I'm doing my best to get it done as fast as possible. If you like my content, I'd love it if you subscribed, liked, and shared the content. It really makes a huge difference, and I super appreciate it. If you want to support me more than that, there's links to ways you can do that down in the description below. Y'all take care.